Gary Godsey is the Executive Director for the Association of Texas Professional Educators. Good to have you back, Gary. Let's get right into what's happening over there at the Capitol. First of all, let's start with funding.
Okay.
Where do you see school funding headed, and what do you think should happen?
Well, you know, there was an effort by Representative Aycock to introduce a new funding formula. He's a real hero for public education. He is a staunch supporter and really tried hard, but that bill didn't make it.
Yeah, he pulled it down because of the deadline evening.
House Bill 1, which is actually the budget bill, currently has about $1.8 billion in projected funding increase for public education, while the House side has $2.2 billion projected for public education. It's in conference now, so who knows how it's going to come out. The big wild card here, of course, is what will the state Supreme Court rule in terms of the school finance case that was put before them several months ago.
Yeah, with this effort that Chairman Aycock was going to try to push through, had it gone through, would have been $3 billion at least this session. If you get the higher number of 2.2, first of all, we'll talk about that in a second,
Okay.
but in terms of the formula, do you think the effort that was made by Chairman Aycock and others to address it this session, the work will pay off down the line?
I do, because it takes a lot of background work and working with different groups and different entities within state government to come up with those kinds of things. And he spent a good deal of time, I know, and his staff on, and other people on trying to come up with a formula that would be fairer than the one that was in place now. He stated that he didn't think it was perfect.
Right.
But it was, we thought, a really good first step forward. The $1.8 billion, as an example, would just keep up with growth. It wouldn't be any additional dollars beyond just keeping up with the current student population growth, which is about 70,000 students a year.
This is the Senate's version.
The Senate's version.
Right.
The 2.2 might be a tiny bit above the actual growth rate, but still we think it's underfunded. When you particularly look at the fact that supposedly Texas had $18 billion to allocate over the biennium, that seems like a larger portion should have been directed to public education. Of course, it's not over yet. These things are still ongoing, and you never know until the end.
What do you think would be the adequate amount for public education right now?
Well, you know, it's a key question. I'm really not. They asked Judge Dietz that question, and he estimated that it would be $8 to $10 billion more than we were currently spending, I think, on education. I think that number is correct, but it was substantially greater than we could possibly fund, I think, with the current budget we have. But, you know, take into account that two sessions ago, there was $5.4 billion removed from public education. It's really never gotten back, even though they will tell you they got it back to what was lost. That's not true when you consider inflation and a lot of other things. You know, an additional $3 to $5 billion seems like something that would be appropriate based on what happened a couple of cycles ago. So anything that moves it forward is positive, but the current funding formulas look like they will only keep up with current growth of student population.
Okay, let's go down the list here, as many as we can anyway, here with a week and a half left roughly in the session. Pre-K legislation looks like that will get through to the governor's desk. First of all, are you happy that this particular effort was made and that this is going to get into law?
Well, we think that pre-K education is important and very, very important for socioeconomically disadvantaged children to have that opportunity. All of the statistics, all of the education statistics point to if you can increase a child's vocabulary at 4 years old and have them speaking a certain number of words, they're exponentially more successful when they enter first grade than they would have been otherwise. So, good step forward. It probably is not what the governor wanted fully, but it's, I think, a step forward in the right direction.
Now, he never asked for a full day pre-K, and there were some plans out there that didn't make it. Is that ultimately what your group would like to see?
I think that we would be preferable to see a full day program, a quality program that would give these children an opportunity to have that nurturing environment for the full day period. It creates lots of opportunities for people who can have a full day program and who can get the basics before they actually enter into first grade and kindergarten. So ultimately, that probably would be the best solution for us.
All right, another area that I wanted to ask you about, accountability, A through F campus bill approved by both chambers. They have their own separate legislation. Any surprise that this was approved by both chambers, and anything that you would like to see done with the legislation as it is now?
Yeah, A through F is a bad bill.
Why is
It's a bad bill because it stigmatizes school children, and it stigmatizes communities, and it really doesn't do anything to build on the self-value of those communities when you're labeling them with failing. And I was really appalled to hear in testimony this year people come to the podium and say that Texas school systems are an abysmal failure. It's not true. There were less than 100 schools that didn't make the acceptable range in the current system that we judge them by. And there are thousands of schools in Texas. We're not failing, and it's wrong to put it that way. If we have to go this route, if it gets pushed through, then we believe at ATPE that there should be more data and more information shared with the parents. In other words, how did you come to that letter grade? How close were they in different categories? In a lot of examples we've been able to find, schools literally failed by 0.5 percentage point. So they were, in the current system, they really were that close. So the stigmatization of that is a big concern for us. Virginia just rescinded their A through F program, which had been in place for a while.
And why did they do that?
For that very reason. The actual lawmaker who wrote the bill was the one who came back and asked them to rescind it because the stigmatization of the communities, the things it put on children, and the fact that they couldn't get teachers to teach in those schools where they got F ratings caused a big problem, so they rescinded the law.
We've got just a minute left. I'm going to ask you about vouchers, as some call this effort school choice. The tax credit for scholarships bill passed in the Senate. It's in a House committee right now. Your thoughts on that particular legislation?
Yeah, we haven't changed at all on that. Anything, you can call it a tax credit that's a voucher, and anything that takes public tax dollars and moves them to a private entity, moving us closer to having an external entity running public education in our state is wrong, we believe. And
do you think the House moves forward on this one?
I don't know. I think, I hope not. I hope they will see that that's not in the best interest of properly educating Texas's public school children.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. We're out of time, but we'll have you back, Gary Godsey, the Executive Director for the Association for Texas Professional Educators. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
And we're back with more Capital Tonight after this.